So we're coming towards the end of the year, and it's probably appropriate that I do an end of the year video, as I've tried to do this chat many a time, and it wasn't going to be an end of the year chat. It's been constantly rescheduled, or the more that I try to do it, the more that I realize I kind of have to be outside for these intuitive chats to flow, because for some reason being inside feels weird. So this intuitive chat, in previous attempted versions, I was reading from YouTuber comments on the channel. This channel has actually been going for about 4 years and 5 months? So it's been around for a while. Unfortunately, just reading from the comments just takes a while, so I'll just cover the common trends that are happening over those 4 years and however many months. To cover that, to give a bit of, I guess, an insight into what the channel's about. As I've said it in one of the community posts, people might be confusing me for a content creator, which is understandable being that this is YouTube and people put content on that. And also just as it's towards the end of the year, what this year's been like for me, and also the direction in which I'm taking things into the future, and covering things like, where's the potato breathing, what you mentioned about being a Taoist priest at one stage, what's all happening there. And it's also an understanding that there's a bit of a catch-up delay between what I post and what's happening in my actual real life as it's happening at the moment. So there might be things that people are resonating with that I've sort of moved past, and that when we consider healing as not being stuck, it's a growth process. So anything that isn't affecting you anymore might be a sign of growth. So I guess getting into some of the common trends in the video comments. The first one is about the cat, actually. I have a black cat that shows up in the background of the video. His name is Dexter. I was told he was a Maine Coon cross, whether he is or not, because there's actually a couple of other cats on YouTube that look very similar to Dexter. There is Shoko, and Shoko is a YouTube channel, and there's a cat on there that looks very similar to Dexter, even though it's a female cat. And there's another female cat called Owl Kitty, and they look very similar to each other. Very fluff balls and similar temperaments, and on both of those channels they're unsure of what type of breed it is. Whether Dexter is or not a Maine Coon cross, it really doesn't change my affection and love towards him, because he's been, in a way, a kind of an emotional support pussycat, and he's definitely in his own right grown and changed and matured a lot. He's been very affectionate. He was never a lap cat in like the marriage, and now I can't keep him off me. It's almost like he's gotten very needy. So every morning when I wake up, he's there, and even telling me to go to bed. I do call him my fluffy drill sergeant. He gets me up in the morning and tells me when to go to bed. But he's very affectionate and loving. He loves massage guns, which is a therapy for me, but he likes to put the oxygen mask on himself first before I get the treatment. And also ice packs. He likes to be brushed down with an ice pack. And if you haven't seen him in a lot of the other videos, he's not a fan of humidity. And we are in a cycle of storms and humidity here in Brisbane at the moment. So he's been chilling out literally on the tiles and looking like misery. He does not like heat. In winter he comes alive. And he's also acquired a little girlfriend cat who wanders the neighborhood and comes to visit him. So that's Dexter. Second most commented YouTube thing is in relation to the EFT tapping videos, and I have talked about this in other videos, but I'm sure even me talking about this now, these comments will still perpetuate. It is in the use of scripts and EFT tapping scripts, and this is a really great EFT tapping script, and script this and script that, which may be just how people might be referring to as in when we have the setup statement, and then I go into just talking off the top of my head in an EFT round. They're known as rounds rather than scripts, but people might be referring to what I'm saying as a script, of just as a way to refer to what I'm saying, whether it's scripted, as far as I've written up a script beforehand and invested in a teleprompter. I would say thank you for the compliment, but to have a teleprompter permanently set up and do it, it takes time, money, energy, and it's kind of a compliment to me in a way that people think that I'm reading from a script. But to give an understanding is that I have worked 15 years frontline mental health support work. So I've worked for clinicians working on their behalf. I've worked for non-government organisations. I've worked with people coming out of long-term mental health institutionalisation, prisons, high secure 24-hour transitional support, people's homes, and I've been exposed to a lot of mental health knowledge and also practical experience, which is the most important part about it. So I've sort of come from two sides of the fence of knowing all the, I guess, the DSM side of it, and then all of the trauma-informed side of it, and also my own personal experience with the misdiagnosis and the re-diagnosis, and just my personal experience. If you're thinking, if you're one of those people that's like, nah, he's got a teleprompter hidden somewhere sort of thing, I think an important reflection to have is, are we looking at it from my experiences or your own experiences? And it's not to say that you wouldn't be capable of doing that. It's just that for me, it's like, I guess, second nature for me to sit down and start doing a video, whether it's in the bush or in front of the computer, on EFT tapping, which I think would flow into probably the third comment. The most common one is people resonating with the videos, like the Living with CPTSD one. And from that video, a lot of people resonated from it, and it seems to have done well. It's done well for me being unwell, but I think a lot of people resonate not only with that video, but other videos. And I've seen people say that I seem to be, whether I am or not, but I guess on YouTube at least, the one that's doing EFT tappings on trauma-related stuff, or childhood abuse or narcissistic abuse and all that. I'm sure there's others, but I've talked about the support work, and you can do many different types of roles within support work. And one of the roles that I did for a number of years, and for government and non-government organisations, was a peer support worker. So a peer support worker is, well, they keep on changing the definition. I don't think they've yet settled, but is a person with a lived experience, or a person with a lived experience of some form of mental illness, helping people with a lived experience. And when you think about it as a peer, it's like a peer. It's a person that walks with you rather than a hierarchical diagnostic type of approach. So in the role of a peer support worker, you're there to help share of your experiences and what helped you navigate through certain situations, and to, in some forms, advocate in especially hospital type roles and all that, which I've also been exposed to quite a bit, where helping people navigate that through advocating for their rights and that. And because sometimes in a lot of these situations, in trauma by itself, you can feel powerless, so it's helping empower the people and helping them speak up for themselves. So in that sense, then, if I'm a peer support worker in some of these roles where people resonating with some of the experiences that I've had, then naturally that would transfer into what I'm doing on this channel, which is sharing of my experiences in the hope to bring awareness that there is issues that need to be addressed to be changed. And I'm currently 46, so going towards 50. So I've had a lot of experiences, and it would be very naive of people to think that I am not naive to a lot of the goings on that happened in my life. So there's a lot of things that I still haven't shared from my past. So perhaps in the new year, I'll share of these experiences. And I think there's that thing where, and one of the other things that showed up in the YouTube channel is like, oh, this person's like just being a victim and all that. And I would be a victim if I chose to do nothing and stay silent. But I'm kind of doing the opposite of that and speaking up and trying to be a voice to others. And having my voice was one of the things that wasn't allowed. So I'm kind of doing the opposite to the things of which I was told I was not possible of. So finding my confidence, finding my voice, and speaking up against abuse rather than people abusing me because I'm talking about these experiences which may be uncomfortable for them. So I shall continue to do that in the new year, and perhaps speak of things that I haven't spoken of before. One of the other ones was speed of videos. There was definitely a video that I did around anger that some people just couldn't accept my answer and were demanding somehow a static video to be replaced, which is not going to happen. But speed of videos where I was speaking too quickly apparently in a video, and some people had some advice, but also some YouTube commenters actually had the right answers to how to go about that. Now, EFT tapping is, well, it stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's not a talk therapy. It's not a cognitive-based therapy. So speaking about your emotions actually can sometimes bring up those emotions. Speaking about a trauma can almost re-traumatize yourself. And if you haven't got a therapist that's aware of body-based therapies and you start to show those symptoms and have no way to release them, which are not word-driven, it's emotion-driven, then they're going to be shaken up, but no form of release. And especially with things like anger, especially if you've been in a marriage, for example, and someone's like very angry, and they're normally speaking quite quickly and they're very irate, and if you've ever said, you should probably calm down, I don't think that's ever helped the situation. It's probably escalated it further, because anger is a very activated emotion, and they're speaking sometimes on a very irrational, and probably from past experiences, a very quick tirade of probably swear words and a lot of other abusive words. So as far as a therapy, when you consider other therapies such as EMDR, where you focus on the emotional feeling, say it be anger, and then you're following the person's fingers with your eyes, there's no real talking involved, you're processing the emotion, or something like somatic experiencing, where you might focus on someone that's, rude to you, and you might be pulling apart a towel or pushing it against a wall sort of thing, but you're trying to release the emotion. Words are not emotions. Words elicit emotions. Emotions are something that we try to give words to express, but it's very hard to express sometimes what is contained within it. So the speed of the video is matching the speed of the anger, and the tapping itself is the somatic processing of it. We're releasing through tapping on the meridian points, or the promovascular system, if you want to look at it from a science perspective. So having that release, same as following the eyes or pulling on a towel or whatever it is. So one commenter said that yes, you could probably actually just substitute your own words for it, or you could even think it in your mind. If you're thinking words in your mind, you're actually stimulating a stress response, so you don't have to say it out loud. The other thing you have to consider is not everyone, and as I was saying with the script in relation to ourselves, you have to think outside of your relation to yourself, that some people can't talk. So they can't actually verbally speak to their emotions. But they do feel them, of course. There's non-verbal people. There's people that can talk, that they just can't talk about their trauma. And there's other actually techniques in EFT tapping that I can't demonstrate on this, that I guess skirt around the issue until it's safe to talk about the issue, because you might put the person in a disassociative state, and we don't want to be in a disassociative state, because if we go into that for too long, you're escaping the body, so we can't actually deal with the experience, and that can also lead to things like dissociative identity disorder, which is why we don't want to encourage a disassociative state within EFT tapping. The other thing is, for quite some time, there's been an anger playlist with a whole heap of YouTube videos dedicated towards anger that I've done, that if that video doesn't work for you, then there's going to be other videos. So rather than being disempowered by one video that is actually matching the appropriate speed to the appropriate emotion, there's other videos that do go slower and some that go fast and slow. It's intentional to the actual content that is actually there. Yes, the words are important because it gives a voice to the things that we couldn't give voice to, but it's also, the words aren't the emotions themselves. The emotions are the things that we couldn't give a voice to, but they are stored within the body. And sometimes we're just giving a voice to it to identify something, but sometimes there's other techniques like chase the pain, where we might be just describing the tension in the body as it's a feeling. Is not a word, but it does describe the emotion. So I can't go back and change a video, and also if you're wanting things to be specific to yourself, then that's why the one-on-one EFT tappings exist, which leads into another one, which is YouTube ads. There's been a few things about me not being aware that there's YouTube ads and all that. And if you're operating on some type of Berenstein Bear timeline where you've not been using YouTube without coming across a YouTube ad, I would like to know how you've been doing this, because then I don't have to pay for YouTube Premium anymore on one of my accounts, because the YouTube ads are actually a part of YouTube. Yes, I can monetize, and I've made steps towards doing that because I want to be paid for the services that I provide. But they are a part of YouTube. It's how you navigate that. I have no magical switch that can turn off all the ads on YouTube. If it did, once again, I wouldn't be paying for YouTube Premium, which seems to be where YouTube is pushing people towards. And there's other ways of doing it, of course, but I guess it's how you choose to navigate that, because I have no control over that. I might have control over, if I do get monetized, where I place the ads, but apart from that, I have no control and have no awareness of where ads will pop up. And if you're thinking, well, he's selling out because he's putting YouTube ads on and that, this is a business at the end of the day, and it's not selling out. I'm providing a service, and I would like to be compensated for that service. So it's not selling out, I'm selling a service. Yeah, I've considered that every EFT tapping video, and even the intuitive chats to some degree, are YouTube ads at the end of every video, where I'm saying, if you're interested in exploring this further, or if this has resonated for you, book in for a one-on-one, which goes into why I would not view myself as a content creator. Call me old school, but whenever I've needed medical treatment from my GP, from a chiropractor, whatever it is, I don't tend to wait for their next YouTube video to be released to justify that they are medically qualified or somehow qualified within the therapy that they provide. I do not judge their medical qualifications on how many YouTube videos or how many subscribers that they have. I judge it based on that I want to provide care for myself, and there is a person there that is qualified to provide that care. That's how I do it, because if I was waiting around for that, these people don't have YouTube channels, because I've chosen to advertise my business through YouTube videos by demonstrating the services that I provide on YouTube, in the hope that if someone is resonating and they've created that awareness within themselves, that resonating with similar issues that aren't actually very pleasant issues to be identifying with, then they might want to down-regulate some of their stress around that through booking in for an EFT tapping service. These videos are not where it's like every week I have to keep the algorithm happy and keep people consumed with the content, because the other thing when you look at, especially when it comes to content on narcissism, for example, from clinicians to non-clinicians, speaking almost on what it feels like a 24-hour news cycle about the latest hijinks of the narcissist sort of thing. And for me, it's good to at least be educated in some degree, but I guess it's where you put the theory into practice. And even as a practitioner, you've got to put that theory that you're learning into practice. And on a healing thing, you've got to put that awareness into actually healing practice. You've got to be able to apply what you're learning. But if you're constantly consuming knowledge on narcissism and that, you've also got to consider that if that's all you're absorbing, then that's all you're going to be viewing of the world. Rather than getting a better understanding of self, we're getting a better understanding of the dynamics of a narcissist, rather than the abuse that we've been subjected to. So it's almost creating a hypervigilance towards how we're viewing the world. Does that person have a certain eyebrow shape? Are they charming in some degree? And it's almost, it becomes an oversaturation to the point where it's an overconsumption. You can view the world through more of a narrow aspect, because everything becomes filtered through the lens of what we've overconsumed, which would be content on narcissism. When we consider narcissism like their fragile ego, they love the attention. So we probably want to give the attention to ourselves by healing from the abuse rather than over-consuming in the other person's diagnosis, because we can't change the narcissist, but we might be able to change ourselves. So that's where it's like I don't see the constant need to put out videos every week. I've got enough videos out there already. I'm doing it where I'm supporting people that have decided to take part in their healing through support work or EFT tapping. And that is the main purpose of the videos, to say, if you're interested, book in. If you're not interested, then the videos is probably where it's just going to end up. Now, getting to end of 2024 into 2025, I think 2024 has been an interesting year for me. It's been a good year, a challenging year, and a year of change. Right towards the end, I've made new friends and they've agreed to be part of the videos. And it's been this weird thing for me, is in times of need, in times of like great struggle, it's actually been strangers rather than friends that have come to my aid. Like literally on this weekend, I had a flat tire and I was coming over a big bridge known as the Gateway Bridge in Brisbane. I stopped off in the suburb of Maree. I know how to change the tire. I was halfway through it. This random dude just comes running up and goes, "Oh, can I give you a hand?" And basically speed ran the whole process and even provided water for me to clean the grease off my hands. Complete stranger. And even the friend that I've made, it's like even his friends were complete strangers, but very caring, very understanding, very accepting people that were only accessible to me by making myself available to them. I could have gone, well, no, I'm a lone wolf. I want to keep myself hidden. But I gave myself the opportunity to make new friends. And why I say friends in quotation marks is like when I've had challenges, when I've been surrounded by the social circle, all I've gotten is likes on Facebook whenever I posted something about something like the SI joint injury and all that, which was a major thing for me. I had to go through quite a lot of pain by myself. So I kind of did a call of the people that were there, but not really there for me. So and now I have people that are actually there for me and are actually actively messaging and seeing how I'm going and everything like that, and being quite kind towards me. And this has sort of happened towards the end of the year. Things moving into the new year and direction of the business is that there's been changes in the NDIS, or National Disability Insurance Scheme. There's been royal commissions done to make sure that participants are safe and all that, which means that even for myself, it might look that I have to become registered. I'm actually at a fork in the road where I can either go down registration or I can continue how I am on the apps that I'm on, because they have to also get registered as well. So I'm not making any promises of like I'm going to be registered, but I'm strongly leaning towards that way. But it is a hard process to do, and even when you get registration, you've got to re-register, and it becomes a structure of which I want to be a part of, but it's also there's a lot of hurdles. So I don't want to make promises, because I can have the intent, but it's also what life throws at me and what I can rise to. So that is where I am strongly leaning towards. But if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that I cease to function. And even within my own personal life, it's like I've been trying to not look at relationships over the past few years since the marriage broke up, because I think it's important to address one's own issues so you don't perpetuate those issues of what you were doing within the relationship that was unhealthy, as far as like people pleasing or being so on guard to like another threat, something that doesn't exist in another person. As I was saying, with those implicit memories and that, I think dealing with those issues, I guess, minimizes or ceases any sort of like behaviors that I was doing in that marriage, where I was basically trying to keep myself safe by maladapting myself, so I don't take that into, because I don't think, even like talking about some of these, like I'm sure like it'll come up, like whether it's going to be the main focus of my conversation sort of thing. I don't really want to be talking about that person. I want to be starting a new life with a new person with new possibilities, and so that's sort of like I'm looking towards in the new year. The other thing was the Taoism that I was talking about. I did get made a disciple, they did do the ceremony, but there has been a change of management, and beforehand it was really good. With the old management, there was actually a lot of teaching that was happening. I was a pupil of something that I could actually follow. But then we had new management come in, and I did talk about this in an old chat, where you can have a system, but it's the people that reside in the system that either make the system functional or not. And unfortunately, I gave it a lot of goes, I gave a lot of leeway, but unfortunately we have directionless direction under a director doesn't sort of see people as disciples, but I guess sort of people that can do menial labor. It's kind of like getting promised that you're going to do a PhD in a university, that you find yourself doing the janitor work sort of thing with the promise of change. So it's not to say anything bad about Taoism. I still love Taoism and would still love to follow it. It's just I don't have something to follow, just a promise of a follow. And perhaps things will change in the future and I can return. Once again, I got made a disciple of it, and that can't change. But I can't actually follow something. And Taoism is a funny beast of a religion where you don't literally need a temple or to become a priest or anything like that. But I know from my Shaolin Kung Fu experiences, and even my old Shaolin Kung Fu teacher, he is a disciple of the temple, so discipleships do exist. It's just, once again, the Latin root of the word disciple is discipulus, which means to be a pupil. You follow a doctrine and follow devotion towards that, but I lack the last two elements of that, so that's where that's going. So it's unfortunate, and I did give it many different tries, and there was other people jumping ship, and I even got a text saying that even the structural integrity of the temple is not doing too well. So it's just not a me thing, unfortunately, but things have a way of changing. Potato breathing, I love potato breathing. I think just directional wise, I have been more focused towards providing support for those that need it. There's nothing wrong with potato breathing. I passed the theory part of it. I just haven't done the practical part of it. But it might be something that I look in the new year. It's just not a pressing need for me at the moment. Once it's ready to be part of the business and I'm ready to provide it, then I will. Another thing that I've been doing sneakily in the background is like just seeing where my breathing is without any breath work involved. And what I have noticed is I get a lot of back issues where the diaphragm is, and when I am taking part of like the mouth taping and like that, things do improve. So for my own benefit, similar to when I came off the medication for the epilepsy, I had to tirade off that, and they had to sort of see what my baseline was before they retested me and saw that it was disassociation. I'm sort of taking myself off breathwork to sort of see where my health is with it, and it's interesting to see where it shows up. So perhaps over this Christmas period I might apply some of the techniques to myself, because that is what they say to do, and see what the benefits are. Because if it works for me, I'm sure it'll work for others, and not that it really relies on my own testing, because this thing has been around for quite some time and does have positive health benefits. But when I'll be certified is a decision I'll make when I'm ready. But right now, if I'm looking at the NDIS certification, I'm going to have my hands full. So yeah, a long video, but welcome to the content on this channel. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. I wish you a Happy New Year. If you are going it alone this Christmas, seek the support that's available to you, but also know that if you've chosen to go no contact, you've probably got plenty of past experiences of Christmases where it's not been a time of joy, but a time of fear. And even though you might be alone in this, know that you've made an empowering choice towards your own self-worth, and not every Christmas is going to be alone. I've had to spend a few Christmases by myself because no one reached out, but once again, the so-called friends, no one reached out to see how I was in this time, even though I made it known what had happened. But I actually went beyond, where now I have a Christmas where I'll be catching up with my new friends. So not everything is a forever thing, and knowing that the decision that you've made is for your own well-being, even though it might not feel it at this moment, but know that every moment is a passing moment, and you've made a commitment to yourself of change. So be strong in yourself, be caring for yourself, have the tears that you need to have, and the anger and frustration displayed in a healthy way, but be you, and know that you've given yourself the opportunity to be you when you couldn't be in the past. So I'm Dion from Eflowtion Support Services. Have a happy new year as well, and I'll see you in the new year. There might be new EFT tapping videos in this time, but if not, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.